The DenCo Gridiron Show will be coming to you live here on a Friday afternoon. It is game day from the studios here in Denton, Texas. We'll get started here in just a second, but let's hear from a message from a couple of our sponsors. We're so glad to have Gillian Brothers Roofing on with us this season, as well as our friends at Marty B's. Let's take a message from Gillian Brothers Roofing.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt. I work for Gillian Brothers Roofing. And we know most property owners have no idea what condition their roof is in. But we believe it doesn't have to be that way, that you deserve to know the condition of your roof, and we want to help you. That's why we're offering our complimentary 14-point inspection to you and your neighbors. Our team will examine 14 different aspects of your roofing system. We'll educate you using pictures and drone video. And if necessary, we'll recommend how to best service your roofing system to ensure it keeps you, your family, and your home protected. And here's some more good news. This free inspection takes about 20 minutes and you don't even have to be home. So it can be done while you're at work, while you're running other errands, or while you enjoy some time with your family. So we want to encourage you to stop wondering what condition your roof is in and instead have one of our inspection specialists come take a look at your property today. Now, to take advantage of our complimentary 14-point roof inspection, simply visit our website, send us a message right here on Facebook, or you can click the link in the description. We look forward to helping you know the condition of your roof.
Hey, great family-owned company right here in Denton, Texas. And I know a lot of folks are probably headed to Marty B's to pick up some wings, grab a little cold beverage before they head to their Friday night game. And they're going to have a huge, Koency and Lee, I don't know if you knew this, but they're going to have a huge Texas OU watch party tomorrow. Marty is a big fan of Texas, but his daughter is a cheerleader at the University of Oklahoma.
Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, who y'all pulling for that one?
I'm going to say hook 'em on this
you got
one.
family ties. Oh, we got a divided house here at the DenCo Gridiron Show. But, man, Marty B's is such a great ambassador to our entire community, and he's a friend of the show. So let's take a listen from none other than Marty B. Marty, I've always enjoyed the range of menu items, whether you want to go in there for just an appetizer or a full entree. Talk to us a little bit about the selection there at Marty B's.
Yeah, thank you, John. The menu was uniquely crafted with a couple things in mind, and one thing I'm most proud of is that all of our meats are hormone-free, antibiotic-free, humanely raised, and fed an all-natural diet. So it truly makes a difference in the quality and of the flavor of the food. For example, we're primarily barbecue is what we serve the largest amount of. And so all of our Tex-Mex options have smoked meats that we use to prepare those items. And then we have one of the best hamburgers you'll ever put your mouth around. All of our beef comes from 44 farms down in Cameron, Texas. We cut our New York strip, our filet, and our ribeye in-house. And then all of the trimmings from that we fresh ground into our hamburger patty. And then we have our buns fresh baked from a bakery down in Houston. Unbelievable burger. And then, of course, the steaks speak for themselves, some of the best steaks you'll ever eat. So our menu is wide in range, but narrow in that it's just super focused on quality. So come out and enjoy salads, steaks, tacos, burgers. We have it all.
Marty, anytime we have friends or family come in from out of town, we always take them to Marty B's place because it's such a great Texas experience, and everybody just loves it. So thank you so much for being part of the DenCo Gridiron Show. Well, guys, I'd say it's time for a little bit of football talk. We're so fortunate to have a couple more interns working with us this year. Lee Livingston is a Denton Guyer grad, a student at the University of North Texas. How you doing, Lee?
I'm doing good. How about you, John?
Glad you're here, man. And then Koency Hord's been with us for a couple years, Denton Guyer graduate and a student at the University of North Texas.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Koency?
I'm doing pretty good, John.
Awesome. Well, guys, take it away. We want to have a platform for students, future leaders, future broadcasters, and no one better to take the reins here today than Koency Hord.
Well, John, first, we're going to start it off down the road in 377 in Argyle. Last week, I'm sure a lot of y'all might have heard the I think it was the 5-year regular season win streak came to an end for the Argyle Eagles. Argyle took a loss 21-0 to Melissa, snapping a momentous win streak. Their last regular season loss actually came on September 11th of 2015. They're going to take on the 5-1 Anna Coyotes at home. You got any thoughts on this one, Lee?
Yeah, it's going to be a really big game for them. Argyle 0-1 to start district play is really surprising. It's surprising to just see them down near the bottom of the district standings right now. Obviously, I kind of think they're going to work their way back up. They're a powerful team. They're, the Dallas Morning News has them as one of the most potent offenses, one of the best defenses in 4A, and they're going to work their way back up. I think they bounce back tonight.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say if any of y'all were to watch Argyle in, their first few non-district games this season, you knew that this was going to be a surprise. Next, we're going to go to North Denton, Braswell. They took a win last week against Little Elm. This one was 63-42, high-scoring game. If you took the over in that one, you definitely hit on that. Tonight, they're going to take on undefeated Denton Geyer for a district matchup at C.H. Collins. I know I've seen Geyer definitely play a few times. I don't know if you've seen Braswell play at all anytime recently, but I'm kind of interested for this one tonight.
I'm really interested in this matchup, mainly because not so much because I think it's going to be a high-scoring game or anything crazy like that, but Geyer's defense has been incredible this year. The Braswell offense has been clicking on all cylinders throughout the season. They've one of the best rushing attacks on the year statistically. I think it's going to be a great test for Geyer's defense to see where they're at right now, heading towards the home stretch of district play. So I think this is going to be a great game and probably a low-scoring game, kind of like what we saw with Denton Ryan and Geyer early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, guys, man, there's a little backstory here. Coach Cody Moore and Coach
Roddy Webb.
Yeah, man, I got a little distracted there. Yeah, Coach Webb, man, they have a Rockwall connection, and there's definitely some bragging rights here. Obviously, Cody Moore and the Braswell Bengals are a huge underdog, but Coach Webb, he's going to want to really show them who's the king of the Denton area football, and might be a little surprising. Braswell will have to come with a little bit of trickery, slow down that high-powered offense, that receiving core of Denton Geyer. But that will be an interesting game to follow. I'll probably be following it on the Twitter feed and the NFHS network tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I think one more thing to add that's just kind of interesting, because I graduated in 2017. Principal Haley, Principal Perry, obviously they were good friends working there, and I had a great time. They were super fun to be around. 100%. And Principal Haley working at Braswell, and that always makes it, I think that makes it a really fun game to kind of keep up with.
Before you move on to Denton, I actually saw, if y'all were looking at the Facebook page this morning, that Geyer and Principal Haley actually brought the Geyer tunnel to Braswell. They brought it to the front of the school and aired it up. I don't know if they did it during when the school was in session, and I also saw that they brought the specific jerseys. They brought 49 and 7.
Hey, for a couple years, for like literally 3 years, I thought Principal Haley was a coach. He's down there on the field. He's at the front of the tunnel. He's getting everybody fired up.
Yep.
And it's an amazing administrator and leader. Obviously, he's very partial to sports. I think he played some college football.
Austin College, yes, sir.
Yeah. So good stuff right there.
They're going to need that energy tonight. And I know they're 4-2 on the season right now, and 1-1 obviously in district. This could be an upset. I mean, they are a talented team. If Geyer doesn't come out with, if they don't execute and play right, there's no reason Braswell can't win this game.
All right, any given Friday.
Yep, that's a great. It's obviously a true statement. We've seen it throughout the year, and you see it every night.
100%.
All right, and so now we're on to Denton. The Broncos are 1-5 this season. They're having a tough year. They took a loss against Frisco Independence recently. They've got a stud running game going on right now with is it Coco Brown, correct?
Coco
Brown, I just want to make sure I say that right. But tough season for them. And I thought they were going to be a little bit better. We went and watched them the first game of the season, take on Lake Dallas. Kind of surprised they haven't been a little bit better. They missed a lot of shots downfield in that game, and they're so reliant on that running game. I guess they've turned into a really predictable team. But I'm just surprised it hasn't gotten a little bit better.
Yeah, with Coco Brown, I thought we were going to see a kind of revolution for the Denton Broncos this season. But I know they're going to head out to take on Frisco Lone Star tonight. So I'm kind of interested to see how that one goes. Obviously, we've talked about Coco Brown. I've gotten to talk to Denton's coach a few times. But yeah, I'm hoping to see something take off for them as the season goes on, as their district season goes into full-fledged.
And kind of now on to Flower Mound. This is a team that kind of surprised us. We were at the Marcus Flower Mound game.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus has shown that they are a high-powered offense. Their quarterback, one of the top 10, I think, when I last checked here on the Dallas Morning News, and a passing yardage, touchdowns. It just has shown to be a great player. The entire offense has been really good. They've got a great wide receiver in,
I believe it's.
Oh, good grief! All right, well, glad we blanked on that one. I'll find it here in just a second. But they've got Division I talent on that offense, and they got beat. And Flower Mound stuffed them early in that game and showed that they could compete at a high level and execute the little things. They are not a team that is going to maybe be the most flashy and do a lot of crazy things, but man, they are good at the little important stuff.
No, yeah, definitely. We saw in that game, you're talking about the Mound Showdown, we saw that Flower Mound's defense could be a huge impact on the game. That defense arguably won them that game against Marcus. So, yeah, they're heading across town tonight to Louisville to take on the Fighting Farmers who are also undefeated going into district play, which it's kind of stunned a lot of people in the community. So I'm very excited to see what kind of goes on with that. John, what you got on that one?
Yeah, guys, I don't know if there was a little bit of a hangover, the Flower Mound Showdown, but, Flower Mound gave up 48 points against Hebron last week. Hebron was due for a victory. They've really struggled. One of the storylines for tonight, Nick Evers, is a game time decision. He's been out. He got hurt early in that first quarter.
Yeah, it was in that
Mound Showdown. Was not available to play against Hebron. Kelly Arden's done a great job filling in, but Nick Evers, we might see him back tonight at Louisville, and that'll be one of the storylines we'll be following.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we're talking about Flower Mound, we're going to go down the road here to Flower Mound. Marcus traveled to play Plano last week, and they actually beat Plano 33-14. Won that one pretty handily, able to bounce back from the Mound Showdown. Tonight they're going to take on the Coppell Cowboys at 7. I know we haven't really seen Coppell that much this season, but like you said, I believe it was Dallas Brown was the receiver for the Marcus Marauders. Yeah, one of the top receivers in 6A. So expect to see him come alive tonight. That's going to be a district matchup. All those Louisville ISD schools are very close in proximity to each other. So I really like seeing these, Louisville district games. Lee, you got anything on that one?
Yeah, I'm with you. These Louisville ISD games are really exciting. And I think the most exciting thing about them is, like you said, Louisville has kind of surprised a lot of people. And then it's not so much necessarily that I think this Marcus Louisville game is going to be the biggest test for them, especially if Nick Evers is out this week. That'll kind of make it a little bit more. The game could get a little lopsided for Louisville, but with Jackson Warren, the way he's played for Marcus at quarterback, and Dallas Dudley, like you just said, at receiver for Marcus, that game next week, that could be a real test for Louisville. That is a real rivalry that has been around North Texas for a while, been around since the 90s. That game means a lot to Louisville. I think the energy is going to be there, and it's just going to be a game that means a lot to both teams.
Right. So
kind of curious what your thoughts are on how do they survive that game, and what does it mean for them if they win that game?
I think Marcus, if Marcus goes on and they win that game, I think this means that you got to keep them in the powerhouse talks for 6A. You look at these 6A powerhouses, you're going to talk about Westlake, you're going to talk about Southlake, you're going to talk about Guy. So I think if Marcus is able to really put it together this season, I think you have to put them in those talks for sure.
And one last note on Louisville. Obviously, they're not a team that necessarily we cover and talk about much, but they're so close to us. I want to get one last question. Do you think if they can go out and blow out Flower Mound and Marcus in these next 2 weeks, where do they kind of rank in? Do we have to start putting them in maybe top 10 conversations in the
Shoot.
state? Because they're big rivalry games. They're not small little rivalries.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, if you beat Flower Mound, you beat Marcus. Those are obviously marquee schools in the North Texas area. So I think if you're able to come away with those wins, especially, I'm not sure of the destinations. I think the Marcus Flower Mound game, that one's in Louisville. I'm not sure about the Louisville Marcus game, but those are, depending on if you have to go to the road or not, those are going to be big wins, and those are going to be statement wins. So I think, yeah, I mean, if Louisville is able to come off with some wins, you definitely got to keep them in mind as well as like being a top 6A dog.
So on that note, Louisville goes to Flower Mound Marcus on the 29th. That's next week, or here, excuse me, on the 29th. That's in 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Man, that is a game to note. I'm excited, man. That is going to be an exciting game. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on. These are competitive districts that we get to cover, so it's fun, man.
100%.
Love it.
100%. On that note, we're going to take it to Lake Dallas. We're going to go to the Corinth area. Last week, the Falcons suffered a 14-12 loss to Princeton. When I looked at that score, it's kind of one of those scoregami scores, 14-12. I don't know what happened for that close little loss, but this week they're going to hit the road and they're going to take on Denison. I know we haven't really talked about Denison a lot. Don't really have a lot of info on Denison, but Lake Dallas, I think they're one of those teams that you're either going to have a super, surprising season. I know they had a few seasons ago, they had one of those years where they kind of surprised everyone and took it pretty deep into the playoffs. So I don't know if we're going to have one of those seasons this year, but shoot, I figure we'll see as the time comes on.
I'm kind of with you there. They're a surprising team. They're a team that they have great quarterback play, which is not something I think we necessarily thought might be the case. We didn't know what we were going to see. We went out there, saw week one. They can run, they can throw, they can take shots downfield. They're not afraid to do anything with that offense. So kind of curious to see what'll play out the rest of the year with that team. So
100%.
All right. And then on to Geyer. I think this is the one that most people probably want to hear us talk about.
Definitely.
Undefeated Geyer beat Ryan in a 14-7. I don't even know what you want. Just a slog of a game where they were beating the tar out of each other. John, I don't know did you get to see much of that game?
Well, what was surprising there, guys, is it ends in a 7-7 tie and goes to overtime. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who would have thought that? Two very explosive offenses. That just, hats off to the defensive units. Both defenses have really been overshadowed by some of the offenses the last couple of years, but both Denton Ryan, Denton Geyer have just unbelievable defensive units this year. And, Texas 6A, 5A football's really gotten away from that. I mean, I saw a score, I think it was last weekend. It went to overtime. It was like 70-63. It's like a rock wall game or something. I'm like, I was thinking to myself, should both defensive coordinators get fired over there?
Right.
I mean, I can say that because I'm off camera, right? And but it was kind of refreshing to see a defensive battle. And then back to that Mountain Showdown, 17-14 as well. So that was surprising. And I think both teams got better as a result of that game.
Yeah. So on those defensive notes, if we go over here to the Dallas Morning News, which I love looking at it's the way they have things laid out, just if people are curious where I go and find kind of rankings and things in terms of stats. Geyer is a top 10 unit in almost every defensive metric, not all of them, but the most important ones in terms of pass defense and just overall defensive scoring. And to me, those are the most important units because the best teams in the area, they can throw the ball, and they're a top 3 passing defense. They've only allowed 654 passing yards on the season and only 109 yards a game through the air. That defense is scary. They get to the quarterback. They have put some hits on some quarterbacks. I mean, we've seen it a few times. That Prosper game,
I was just gonna say, that Prosper game, we've seen it more than a few times for sure. That was a 35-7 win against a Prosper team that had a little bit of momentum coming into that game, and people are kind of looking to Prosper as one of the, we were talking about the 6A powerhouses. Prosper is gonna soon be one of those 6A powerhouses, I'm sure, if we give it 5-10 years. So yeah, that defense, huge. Vincent Page, UNT commit. You have Pope. I was about to say I'm not blanking on his first name. I think
Marquand Pope.
Marquand
is in the
Pope.
building. Yeah.
Yes, Marquand Pope. I know he's a new commit. I'm not sure on the exact school, but you have a lot of D1 power on that Geyer defense, and in these slugfest wins, you're kind of seeing that they can not only execute and hold the offense to a low score, but they can also run away with it in those high scoring games, like in the 35-7 Prosper game, where they can keep the opposing offense on their or on their feet the whole time.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold has looked incredible. He's got 3 interceptions on the year to 12 touchdowns. 2 of those were in the first, or all 3 of them were in the first
few games.
Like, this dude's been on fire. He looks incredible. They can run the ball down your throat.
Mhm.
There's nothing. This team has it figured out in every aspect of the game. And, I think a lot of people, they look at Jackson Arnold, they look at this team, you look at Byron Phillips running the football down everyone's throat and just gashing them like he did in that Prosper game.
Mhm.
And then you have that defense that is, it's just almost hard to describe if you haven't gotten to watch them play. I think about that Ryan game. I'm standing there, I'm taking pictures, watching it, and they turn the ball over early in that game. Ryan has the ball. They're inside the 25. It looks like they're going to score, get ahead early in this game, and boom, Geyer comes up and forces a fumble inside the 10.
Mhm.
That defense doesn't break.
It's huge.
It almost doesn't bend.
Yeah, in plays like that, in situations like that, you need a defense to step up in a situation where you're down on your own, inside your own 25. You need your defense to come out and make those plays. In the past, we haven't seen the Geyer defense make plays like that. But you come into a new Coach Rodney Webb system. You got a few new coaches on the defense. You're gonna see the defensive plays and the wherewithal to come in and make those plays and hold someone like Den Ryan to not scoring or to forcing a turnover.
Yep. All right. So obviously we'll get on to the next team here, Liberty. But the last thing I want to say is, do y'all think this team? How deep do you see Geyer going? I think that's the question. Just how.
I'm gonna say I think that Geyer has the power to put it all together and make a state run. I really do think that. I was a little bit. If you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, I don't know. I think we're talking like 3-4 rounds, but I think we're midway through the season now. I think Geyer definitely has a chance to take it to state this year.
I agree. They've got it figured out in every aspect. John, what about you?
Yeah, the X factor coming into this season, guys, was that they lost a lot of seniors on that offensive line, and the offensive line still has some things to prove, to open up some things for BJ Phillips and really spread things out for the passing game. We were talking pre-show, Jackson Arnold. He had a lot of hype. A lot of D1 offers, but he hadn't really played a down in varsity football other than that, he got thrown into the fire his freshman year when Eli got hurt. But he's proven everybody that he belongs where he is. And, key thing, injuries, every team's going to get banged up and beat up. Will they stay healthy? Grayson O'Barry stayed healthy and really having a great senior year. He's got several receivers to throw to, like you said, BJ Phillips. I think he just recently committed to Army West Point.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a great young man, obviously. And, I think the X factor for how deep Geyer can get will be that offensive line.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I think and if you talk about the growth, the playing growth that we've seen from Jackson Arnold from that state game to, being the freshman thrown into the game, not really sure what to do, to now. And now he looks like just a stud. I have nothing but good things to say about Jackson Arnold. We're going to bring it down to Liberty, Jason Witten's Warriors. They hosted Pulaski Academy from Little Rock, Arkansas last week. They lost that one 63-14. And today they hope to bounce back as they head to Midland Christian tonight. Lee, I know that was actually one of our first games that we were able to work together, was the Liberty scrimmage, where we got to see, Coach Witten come out there with the Warriors. And I know they have a lot of offensive power. They have Christian Driver. I know they have a few young quarterbacks that they've been rotating in and out at Liberty. And man, I'm excited for Liberty to put it together. I know this is Jason Witten's first year, and there's a lot of questions here and there, but I'm excited to see. I'm in it for the marathon, not the sprint, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it, because obviously not this season they were hoping to have. They've got just the one win on the season right now. I don't know what they're going to do. There's been some, tough things going on for them. I think they're going to piece things together, and hopefully they can kind of do that here at the midpoint of the season and maybe towards the end of the year, it was a very young team. That's one of the things that we talked to one of the assistant coaches, and that's what they said. It's a young team. They had a tough time even splitting the team into two teams, a navy and a white team for their scrimmage, and that's tough. And so that's going to wear you out when you don't have a lot of depth going into the season. So I don't think they're going to, flip a switch and somehow magically make the playoffs, but I do think they can kind of grow, and I think you're right. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's what they brought Jason Witten in for. So
no, 100%. Yeah. I think when you bring in someone like Jason Witten, you're looking to bring in someone that's going to be able to add like the intangibles to your team. You're going to look for someone that's going to be able to, when the team isn't looking so good, in the earlier years, you're looking for someone that's going to, establish the roots and kind of like, start that foundation and start those traditions where, you're going to be looking at Liberty in a few years as a powerhouse in the, I believe it's the TAPS division that they play in.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, look for Liberty in the coming years. We're not going to, I don't know what we're going to see, coming in into tonight and through the rest of the season, but I'm looking for the positives in Liberty for sure. John, you got anything on
guys,
that?
I can assure you, Jason Witten does not like to lose. He's not there just because he doesn't have anything better to do on a Friday night. They have 4 boys. I believe the oldest is just a freshman, maybe a sophomore.
That sounds correct.
So.
And from what I'm hearing, Jason Witten plans to be there for at least 4 years to get his youngest son out of high school, really develop his coaching skills, in Texas high school football, which is a pretty good place to hone your skills, and then potentially move on to bigger things, maybe in the college ranks. I hear he would really love to go back and coach his alma mater in Knoxville at the University of Tennessee. I'm sure the Dallas Cowboys would love to have him, as a tight end coach or somebody. So his future is bright. And more importantly, I love the way he's giving back to the community and really impacting these young kids. Can you imagine being a freshman, sophomore, showing up first day to get your helmet, and there's Coach Jason Witten, future Hall of Famer there to greet you?
Yeah, it'd be pretty exciting. A lot of the kids, we were at that first press conference, and a lot of the kids seemed really excited. And I don't know if it's a normal thing. I haven't been to many Liberty games, but after the game, they had a meet and greet with all the players, and that was pretty cool to see that they were doing that because all the young kids were excited to go see all the players. And we 6-year-olds, elementary school kids, you look up to those kids. If you're going to high school games, that's who you look up to.
Exactly.
I know I did the same when I was that age. High school kids are basically the equivalent of
it's like a celebrity.
They're who you look up to in the area. So that's always exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited to see what Jason can do, and I'm really looking forward to that because he has been giving back to the community, has been active. After that press conference where you had ABC and Fox and all those big guys there, he came down and shook everyone's individual hand. I know I shook his hand, and I told him that I was pretty excited to see what we would have in store for his coming years. Lee, can you take us down to Denton and Ryan?
Yeah, I'll take us down there, and this is a team that has quickly bounced back after that loss from Geyer. And I think in both coaches told us in interviews, and they told you, I think it was Coach Rodney Webb said they wanted to learn from this game. And that's what both coaches emphasized. It wasn't about necessarily, it wasn't the end all be all of that game, but they wanted to grow from that game, no matter what the end result was. Both teams have. And Ryan has gone on a tear since then. They have obliterated a couple of opponents. I don't see them stopping or slowing down. They have some serious talent on that team. And Geyer played great in that game. Ryan missed a couple chances. So I
was going to say execution was definitely the name of the game for Ryan, which we do not see Ryan struggle with execution at all. Execution was obviously not a problem last night as they were able to pick up a 42-3 win against the Colony. That's going to be a district win. I know they look to remain undefeated in district next week as they're going to take on Frisco Heritage on the road. Yeah, Ryan. I mean, Ryan does Ryan things when they have to play district ball. So we know that Dick Geyer was not a district match. They still wanted that game regardless, but look for Ryan to go undefeated. Definitely.
I would not be shocked. And I don't want to make a bold, I don't know if this is I think it could be a somewhat bold call because it's only happened a couple times just in the general state history. You might see Denton Ryan and Denton Geyer in state titles again. It's only happened twice where you have the same team or two teams from the same school district, but I don't see why you don't see them both there. Denton Ryan, I think we kind of forget they won 40-7 against Longview to start the season. And the way Denton Geyer's played, that was a top tier team. Like they beat a Tuscaloosa. Oh, good grief. A Tuscaloosa. I'm going to mispronounce that every time we ever have to pronounce that.
Hey, we like to have fun here on the show. Just roll with
it. English is not my bet. I can't talk. We're on a podcast, but I can't talk. So, I mean, it's really hard to kind of put into words just how good this Ryan team is in every aspect of the game. Defense, physical, hard hitting football, and the quarterback play been solid. A couple of key turnovers in that Geyer game, but it's grown from there. An explosive offense. Like we said with Geyer, they're good on every part of the game. It's just going to come down when they play those big opponents. Do they turn the ball over?
Right. Yeah. That's one of the things we got to look to. I know, John, I know you've been around, stuck around, got to look at Ryan for the past few years. You got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah. Ryan, they lose, Coach Hennigan's son, Seth Hennigan, who's actually starting as a true freshman at Memphis. And doing really, really well. So, Ryan, they just bring it each and every week, each and every season. They're always prepared. I love the approach that Coach Dave Hennigan takes. He's a very humble leader. He tries to really bring down the hype of the program and make it about the team. If you follow him on Twitter, man, a lot of good things you can learn about business and life by following that program. He calls it earn, not given, meaning all the stuff they do year round, during the season, getting ready for the season. It's just a great program that he's continued at Denton Ryan, really grown by Coach Joey Florence, who's now the athletic director at Denton ISD, but just such tradition. And we're fortunate here in the Denton County area, the 9 schools that we cover here on the DenCo Gridiron Show, that several schools year in and year out are in the talk of a state title contender. Pretty special.
Yes, sir, it is. And I think one thing I want to kind of piggyback off of with Coach Hennigan there is I got to go watch them practice and kind of talk to a couple of players. I got to talk to Michael Davis and his brother, both Army commits, and it's special kind of talking to them about the loose atmosphere, because you go watch them practice the day before a game and you'd think it'd be super intense, and because that's what a lot of you think of these programs that are just powerhouses. You think they're intense and all this kind of other stuff. It was loose. Coach Hennigan was out there having fun, throwing the ball around. Another group, I think it was the group of the defensive linemen, were playing a game and they were just out enjoying themselves. I mean, everyone seemed to have a smile on their face at different points of the practice. They were having so much fun.
I think it's that Southern California. Coach Hennigan grew up in Southern California. It's that California kind of lifestyle, that flow. He can get intense when he needs to.
Yeah.
But he also does a thing. He's a former quarterback as well, and he does a thing where he competes with some of his players.
Yep, he definitely did.
Like a quarterback competition every week, and I think he usually wins it.
I didn't get to see I think that competition, but they were doing one. They had a few linemen out there trying to catch balls and seeing who could catch what. And and what was cool is I asked the players, how does that transfer into games? And it was like, you're loose in practice, and then you're able to almost be more intense in the game because you're not worn out from being so intense and crazy all throughout the week. And if you listen to, I think a lot of professional players and professional athletes have talked about, you can't be intense 24/7. It wears you out. And Coach Hennigan, man, he's awesome.
Yeah, great. A lot of great coaches all around the state of Texas, but man, the commitment they make. I was talking, I think, to Adam Bodecker, who helped start this show 5 seasons ago, and other guys. The amount of time that coaches put in, they don't do it for the money. I mean, especially the position coaches. I think they're getting a $7,500 stipend or $5,000, and probably some smaller schools it might be $3,500. It probably works out to about $1 an hour. Yeah. But the rewards of working with those young people, and then nothing like you guys have been on the field as players and covering games for the DenCo Gridiron Show. Something special about being on that field, whether it's the baseball field, the football field, or the basketball court, and representing your school.
Oh yeah, I love the atmosphere. I love being down on the field for the games. There's nothing like it, especially in Texas. You come to a state like Texas, and a lot of the stadiums are actual look like college stadiums, like pro level stadiums. So it's you couple that with the pageantry of Texas high school football and the intensity like Lee was talking about. There's really nothing like it, I think, that I've experienced, at least, just the atmosphere of being an athlete in Texas. It's amazing. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's just wild to kind of see and get to be a part of that intensity whenever you're on the field or in the student section, whatever sport it is. Some schools, they love certain sports maybe more than others, but it's really, really cool how a school can kind of get brought together by a sport, or it's just fun. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but I love it.
Hey, for Koency, Hord, Lee Livingston, I'm John Piper. Thank you for tuning in this live Friday afternoon game day edition of the DenCo Gridiron Show. Tune in all week long for more updates on Instagram, Twitter, and the Facebook page. Thank you so much to our friends at Marty B's and Gillian Brothers Roofing. You have a great night and enjoy the ball games.
From Fox 4, make sure to tune in to the DenCo Gridiron Show.